Logan Sargeant is one driver that is very popular in F1 now, especially with him receiving an FP1 chance in front of his home crowd. The sport desperately needs a driver that comes from the States, given the fact that it has grown massively in the past couple of years throughout North America. There is one place that is open in Williams, and it seems like they have set their eyes on Sargeant. Is the team ready to sign the first American driver after quite some time? And if so, what are the requirements that he needs to fulfill in order to suit up with Williams from 2023 and beyond? Stick around with us to find out more. Williams is one of the two teams in F1 that currently have a vacant spot to offer, along with HAAS. With De Vries's phenomenal debut, it became evident that Latifi just wasn't made out of F1 material, and that is something that the F1 community knew ever since he stepped into F1 in 2020. However, the amount of money that his father brought to the team was very much in need of in a COVID-affected season, so Williams didn't really have much of a choice. Now, when the sport has a massive influence all over the world, and with Williams showing that although they are the worst car on the grid, they are still capable of scoring points, the team is finally looking forward to signing a talented driver to pair up with Albon. Logan Sargeant is on top of their list, and it seems like Williams is finalizing the final steps, and an announcement could come anytime soon. Still, there is one obstacle that could ruin the fantastic outcome for both Williams and Sargeant, and that is the super license. Sargeant is currently racing in F2, and he is part of the Williams Academy. However, in order for him to receive the super license, something that he cannot race without under any circumstance, he needs to finish in the top 5 in the F2 championship. Sargeant is having a decent season in F2 and is currently P3. Although the fight for the championship is over, with Drugovich winning it ahead of Pourchaire, Sargeant is under threat of losing his P3 spot by at least 5 drivers below him. This is why Sargeant needs a perfect execution at the latest event that the F2 Caravan will visit in Abu Dhabi in November, or he will have to wait for another year until he has a chance to drive in F1. Still, Williams has expressed a massive interest in the US-based driver, and given the fact that he is part of their academy, he had a decent tryout in Austin this weekend. He completed an FP1 session, driving 23 laps without a flaw and not crashing the car, which is ultimately the most important thing when you go out as a rookie driver. Compared to him, Antonio Giovinazzi, who also received his second F1 chance in HAAS and already has a couple of years of F1 experience behind his name, crashed in Friday's session. Logan Sargeant spoke about the opportunity that was presented to him by Williams, being eternally grateful and pointing out the biggest differences between an F2 and F1 car. A lot different than what I expected, to be honest. The way that the car reacts compared to what I'm used to in F2 is massively different. Super reactive in the high speed and so good on the brakes. But yeah, in general, it was a good run. And I learned a lot. I was pretty shocked by how much power it had as well at the start, so something to get used to. And it was tricky out there. Prior to the free practice session, reports said that the wind could pose a huge challenge to the F1 drivers. This is something that Sargeant has probably felt more than the other drivers, given the fact that he doesn't have experience in F1 cars and should have more trouble in bringing the FW44 to the perfect balance. Still, it's something that he did successfully, unlike some drivers that are considered candidates for an F1 seat in 2023 and beyond. So, with Williams satisfied with how Sargeant performed, what is next for both sides? Obviously, the super license is a thing that needs to be sorted out prior to Sargeant's debut in F1 next season, but the team does have an option to sign a proviso that he still needs to get the license. Apart from him, the British team has considered Mick Schumacher and Antonio Giovinazzi as the main candidates to replace Nicholas Latifi. But after the desperate outing for Giovinazzi here in Austin, it's not likely that he'll get a chance next to Sargeant. The USA-based driver has talked about the experience here in COTA as he finished P19 just ahead of Giovinazzi. Although he was last, the goal wasn't to be the fastest. Rather, it was to get a feel of how the car performs for the near future. I think the main goal coming into today was just to learn as much as possible. And I feel like I did pick up on a lot, very different to what I honestly expected, but in a good way. A lot of potential to still pick up on and improve on, but I think it was a good start and happy with how it went. I think most important now is to go back, debrief, pick up on as much information as I can, and give them as good a feedback as possible. And yeah, I'd say it was a good day in the office. Sargeant also spoke about his future plans and the opportunity to drive for Williams from 2023 and beyond, adding, "Honestly, I'm not sure. As you know, I need to have a good Abu Dhabi to secure my super license, and that is the main focus at the moment. And it's to go out there and have a good round and solidify myself in the top 3 in the championship." With Williams extending their interest in Sargeant, what lies ahead of us? It seems like they are going to pray for Sargeant to have a decent season finisher in Abu Dhabi because he is looking like their best option at this moment. With the sport growing massively in the States, we've seen what kind of efforts Red Bull made in order to bring Colton Herta to the F1 sport, although he didn't have enough points on his super license. Still, the sport was very strict about this policy, as the formal rejection form was given to Herta, and F1 is still waiting for the first USA-based driver after 2015. According to Joost Capito, who is the Williams principal, there is a good choice of young drivers, but Sargeant is one they are looking at more closely. Earlier this season, he spoke about the opportunities that Williams has ahead of them, adding, "There's a good choice of drivers. It's a good choice of young drivers. There's still some experienced drivers there as well. And so I think it's quite different philosophies, different strategies. And in the situation of the team, we can work on different strategies. We are not so much in the front that we need 2 experienced drivers, so we can experiment a bit and get young drivers in. So we'll see what turns out to be best. Either we think he's, Sargeant, ready and he's capable or not. He could do another year in F2 or whatever," finished Capito, who stressed that the only factor that will predominate over Williams taking Sargeant as Latifi's replacement or not will be his skill, not his nationality. If something happens and Sargeant isn't able to obtain his super license, rest assured that the team will look forward to signing Mick Schumacher, who doesn't have many chances left to prove himself in order to keep the HAAS seat. The American team is currently in the fight for the P8 spot in the Constructors' Championship, and according to Gene Haas, the owner of the team, the crashes that Mick committed are too much when you are fighting for scrap points. When talking about the German driver, Capito said, "Mick is an option for us. He also deserves to stay in Formula One. We'll see if that happens, but he's definitely an option for us. If you look at George Russell, he made mistakes as a sophomore at Williams, and he still developed." With that being said, it's evident that an interesting period lies ahead of us. Although Williams can reach an agreement with Sargeant and secure him on the condition that he receives his super license at the final race of the season, we must wait and see if the British team will take this step. As of now, it looks like the best thing to be done, but the last thing the team wants is to jinx the move and possibly forehand bad luck to themselves. What do you think about Sargeant replacing Latifi from 2023 and beyond? Let us know in the comments below.